evening, everybody. Give us a wave if you can hear me. Oh, look at all those lovely faces I can see. Oh, we've had a fabulous day today. I've got lots of stuff to tell you. So, tonight what we're going to do is get into the nitty-gritty of cutting different materials. Because although the SDX has an auto blade, there are things that you can do to help it along the way, shall we say. And it's also about me teaching you and you understanding how the machine, what the different depths and cut amounts and things like that mean. And it's thinking logically about the medium that you're cutting. So we're going to do that. The MEL 10 code is still running, which is great. So that will give you 10% off everything Brother. When we launched the Disney machine, not last week, I don't even know when we launched it, but I know it was recently because my life's just been absolutely chaotic these last couple of weeks. It came with the calligraphy starter kit, and a lot of you asked if you could buy that separately. So we've spoken to Brother today. Their stock will be coming into us either tomorrow or Wednesday. So if you want to order it and pay for it tonight, you'll get your 10% off, which is good. We're also doing it at a good price for you. And it will be with you probably by the end of the week, if not next Monday. So if any of you are interested in buying the calligraphy starter kit, it will be available for you, which is great because then we can do some stuff around that as well. And also we've done 20% off construction board. So if any of you have bought the last Cutting Craftorium one and you want to stock up on your construction board, you've got C for Charlie, B for Bravo, 20. So you'll see the code on your screen. And I've started work today on the next digital Craftorium and it's going to be epic. So it's all about card making and layering and florals and decoupage, and we're also doing Micro Studio with it. So I'm very, very, very excited about what's coming up for your ScanNCut, which is just brilliant. If any of you were on the retreat with us, we've just done a 2-day retreat at Doncaster Racecourse. We had a fabulous time. It was lovely to meet everybody that was there, and let me think. I've got my words might go a little bit today because I've talked a lot this weekend. Our training academy itinerary will be up on our website and live from the end of next week. So if you want to come and do any face-to-face classes with us, you'll be able to come and do that. So we'll have that up a week on Friday, probably. It will be ready. So that's really exciting too. Right, so done all the boring bit. Well, it's not boring when you think about what I've just told you. Let's get on with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is just show you how to retack a Mat 4 grey board. I know we've done a separate video for how to cut grey board on the SDX and on the CM machines, but it's also always worth going over it again because I was asked again this weekend the best way to retack a mat, so I'm never presuming that everybody already knows. So the one thing that you have to have in your life is pinflow stencil glue, because this enables you to lengthen the life of your mats by retacking them. Now the mat that I've got here, which you'll be able to see on the overhead camera, isn't very clean. I would, before you even retack this, I would run this under a tap and get rid of all the fibres that are on here, because I've already cut construction board, but I've been so engrossed in what I've been doing today, I ran out of time. So we'll just do it over the top of this, but you please make sure that your mat's nice and clean. And if you ever get fibres on like this, don't ever just get your scraper and go in and try and rub it off like that, because A, you will get incredibly frustrated, 2, your hand and your arm will ache, and 3, running it under a tap saves you half an hour of your life. So why would you not? So I'm going to get some stencil glue and I'm just going to pop it on this piece of Mylar next to me. Now that is the amount that I would normally recommend you put down for just retacking your mat. For grey board, I'm going to put half on again. And that's because we want it to be as sticky as possible. but still be able to get the grey board off without ripping the construction board itself. And the reason for that is when you are cutting grey board, I will encourage you to do it on a very low cut amount, so a very gentle cut, because if you ask a thick blade to go through a dense product and you force it through it, chances are when your machine is cutting, your mat will do that. And once your mat does that, it's very difficult to get it back to get it to load properly again. And that's because you're putting so much force on that blade that the rollers aren't strong enough to hold it. So it starts to twist. The other reason is when you're multiple cutting a product, you want it to go cut in exactly the same place, because there's nothing more frustrating than buying construction board and it's starting to cut, and on the second or third cut it misses where it's supposed to be, because then that piece of construction board is wasted. And it's usually, well, it's 99.9% of the time it's because your mat's not sticky enough, so it's not holding that grey board in place. So it's either your mat's not sticky enough so it can't hold it, and also your blade depth is, or your cut amount is too much, or your pressure's too much. So it's too strong, and it wants the mat just can't be controlled. So to retack this, I'm going to go in with my kitchen sponge. Don't buy an expensive one, you don't need to, okay? Just dab it around so you get a nice even layer on the top of your sponge like that. And then on your mat, I'm going to start in the top left corner and work logically, please. So work across the mat like this rather than doing this, because you won't know where you've been and you'll get more in one area than another. And that's not good either. So I'm just going to go along and I'm going to add this glue. I'm making sure that I'm not going on this side or on this side on the black area. So make sure that you don't go onto that area, because that's what takes your rollers in. And you don't want to get glue on your rollers, especially not this glue, because it is super, super tacky. You can go straight onto a brand new mat, but to be honest, it's weird, isn't it? Because a brand new mat is sticky, and the thing that I get a lot is, I can't get the product off my brand new mat. So you think about, do I use the low tack mat? Do I use the standard mat? And you work that bit out. But when you get a brand new mat, it's sticky, but it's not tacky. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you have ever retacked a mat with stencil glue, you'll know what I mean. It's a different type of adhesive. So therefore it's a tacky will grab it and hold it, whereas sticky is different. And I can't explain why, but if you've ever done it, you'll know what I mean. It's weird, but it is a thing. So I've got my glue all over there, and you'll notice that I just swiped down like that, because I don't want a thick area of glue somewhere and not in a different area. So I'm trying my best to make sure that I've got an even amount all the way across. And then I'm going to put this to one side and leave it to completely go off, all right? Because otherwise, if we put grey board on there now, we're never getting it off. Right, so fabric. This is what I've been asked for a lot by you guys. Oh, Andrew's just asking me something. Go on. The written instructions from last month should now be on our... Right, so go onto last month's YouTube video. Under the YouTube video. Let me have a look. Hang on. Under the YouTube video. Yeah, there's a link. Click on that. And then it will download onto your PC. I did it. It just took me a few days because I have had a bonkers week. Oh, and it doesn't know why the screen's gone white, but hey ho. Is it fine? Okay, great. Right, so let's get on to fabric. So now then, Brother have been very open and honest and said they do a fabric mat. And the fabric mat is a low tack mat with a high contact adhesive sheet on. So if you have one of these, and if you own an SDX, you will have, because it came with it, you don't need to buy the fabric mat. So this is and actually it's cheaper to buy these than it is to buy a mat with one on, because eventually this, when you cut fabric, your blade is going to cut into this adhesive sheet as well. Once it's shredded, you can take it off and put a new one on. If you're working on a fabric mat, you've got to buy a whole new mat. So I don't know why you would do that. So we're going to just work with this. So the way that this works is you put the whole thing onto a low tack mat with the sticker here, this little instruction symbol here, facing up. Don't put it facing down because it won't work. And then we're going to use my scraper and I'm going to burnish this down really nicely. Get any air bubbles out now before you take the backing off, because once you take the backing off, the adhesive is exposed and then you won't be able to do this. You can also save the carrier sheet so it protects it, but just so that you know, this is something that you will cut through. Let me just see if I can get that up because I've got bubbles. This is where the roller comes in really well. So the roller, like the roller that looks like a brayer from Brother, and just do it like you would wallpaper. So down the middle and then out to the edge. Okay, so I've got that. So there's very few air bubbles in that now. Now I haven't brought my tweezers in, but oh, well done, Melanie, look at that. And then you peel it off and that sticky sheet is now on there. Okay, so you use this if you do not want to stabilise your fabric. So if you don't want something like Heaton Bond ironed onto the back, you will use this for your fabric. So let's just get a piece of regular quilting cotton. So I've got this here and I'm just going to position it in the middle of my mat just because I can. You can put it anywhere, but I'm just going to put it in here and I'm going to just gently, because you don't want to stretch your fabric, I'm just going to gently burnish that down with my scraper as well. So that is now well and truly held in place. Okay, so let's go into our machine. I'm going to open it up and Brother do this, which is a fabulous, fabulous blade. This is your fabric blade. And it's very, very, very much like, well, no, it's not actually, that's not true. So, sorry, I started to say something and then changed my mind. It's a really interesting blade, this, because the angle there from the point coming out is quite shallow, which is different to a lot of the others. You see there, it's quite shallow there. And it works really, really, really well. So if you haven't got one of these, if it didn't come with your machine, so if you've got an SDX 900, I would recommend getting one of these if you want to cut fabric, because it's really good. And you know what I'm like, if something's good, I'll tell you, and if there's something's not, I'll just tell you not to bother. Right, so let's do a shape. Let's try quite a complex one. Now, I haven't practiced any of this. I haven't worked it out. I'm just doing it as you would do it at home. So let's go into here and let's try this snowflake, because it's quite detailed. And if you're going to test something, let's test it properly. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we do simple shapes, but at least then you know what it's capable of. So I'm going to load this in. That mat felt really heavy then when I picked it up. It's because it's got that extra sheet on. So I'm going to load this up and we're going to scan this in, because we can, because we've got a scanner built in, which is fabulous. So let's scan this in so you can see the fabric on here. I'm just making sure that that's down on 1. The reason that we're doing this class this time is because I've been asked a lot for cutting fabric and different materials. So I thought we'd do it now, and then please continue to email me, which is mel@highlightcrafts, and give me what you want to know, because it might be that 10 of you want 10 different things, but we can do them in one class. Right, so I'm just going to make the background darker there so that you can actually see on the screen that you've got that piece of fabric scanned in. So that's great, because if you are a fabric crafter and you want to cut a shape out of a certain area within your fabric, you can absolutely do that. Whereas you're not guessing, you're not kind of going, right, so it's about 4 inches over and about 3 inches down, you can see it. So let's bring in this snowflake, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to make the background lighter now so that you can see the shape more than the fabric. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller to really test it. So let's make it 80 millimeters rather than 100. I'm going to position it there. I'm happy that I haven't got any creases in my fabric, so I'm just going to press OK. And I'm going to get to the place where we say, please select and cut. So this is where we start to look at things slightly differently. So we're going to go into the settings. The cut amount, I'm going to put on 1 millimeter. Even though this is a thin fabric, and I know that it will cut into my sticky mat, with fabric that's got a warp and a weft, you need to make sure that you get through in one go. Because if you don't, it can pull, it'll pucker. So if you imagine a craft knife, when you're cutting through card, you put the craft knife, the tip of the blade, so it goes right through the paper and it cuts from underneath. You need to get this blade right through the fabric so that it cuts from underneath. Because if you've got a sharp blade and it's dragging and it's not going right through, it's going to pull all those fibres and you won't get a good finish. So I would suggest that for fabric, you put your cut amount on 1. And this is the bit that we're going to focus on because this is important. And Brother have obviously realised that it's more important than they thought it was going to be because they're adding more increments into it with updates. So I want to go through this bit with you because even though you've got an auto blade, you still need to know that bit because it's important. Oh, Faye asked what's down on 1. It's the lever on the side. Now, if you are scanning in something that is thick, and I'm going to show you that in a minute because we're going to do leather, it will prompt you to lift it when you're scanning it in. Because if you're doing something that's thick onto your mat, as it goes in and it hits those back rollers and the scanner unit, it can catch it. And that's when your mat will go skewing off and you don't want that. So if you're cutting something thicker, the machine will either prompt you to lift it or you lift it automatically, whichever you prefer. Also, when you're drawing, it will prompt you to lift to number 2 because it lifts the back rollers, which means that those rollers don't go through your ink when you're dragging, which is why the calligraphy pen holder, although it does work in the ScanNCut as a normal pen, it does drag the rollers through it because I tried it this afternoon, which isn't, I know I'm a bit like that about that, but I can't change it, so I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm going to press start and then we're going to see what it comes up with. Might not work, might work, don't know. Let's try it and see what happens. I've done a basic shape with it. So we did I always get my numbers wrong, hexagon, I think, on air, but this snowflake is quite complex for a machine like this because you've got a moving platform and a moving blade and it's going in and out and back on itself quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see how it cuts this. Do you need the sticky mat of using the rotary blade? Yes, you do. Absolutely you do. Right, that doesn't look like it's done anything at all. So let's have a look and see where we're at. No, it hasn't touched that, which is quite strange. So let's see why, because I'm not sure why it's done that. So let's just take our blade out and have a look. And let's pop it back in and try again. Might be that I didn't put this wasn't down properly. I've no idea, but we'll try. So please select and cut. Half cut. Is half cut on? Let's have a look. No, half cut's off. Weeding box is off, so it's nothing to do with that. Okay, let's try again. See what we get. Don't know. Sometimes it happens. Let's have a look. I can hear it now. So if you ever get that, just go in and put your blade back in. It might be that the bar's not quite pushed down properly. And if it's not quite pushed down properly, it will allow the housing unit to move. So therefore, it's not touching that fabric and it's not applying that pressure. Right, let's see what we've got now. A weeding box is when you do vinyl. I'll show you later on. Right, I'm happy with that now. So let's go back now. So always check to make sure that it started to cut. And look at this. See, look at that. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Now, I've told you before about when I went to Brother and went, what's this? What is this? This is neither use nor ornament. However, I've had to eat my words this week. However, Miss Melanie, see, this is what I do. Go in feet first and then go, okay, yeah, fair point. Not very often, but sometimes I have to. Right, so you want to get all these little fibres off as well. But this is good for getting underneath fabric because it is super sticky now. And you will get an amount of fraying, but you could actually put a seam allowance around this if you wanted to. So let me just see what it's like to get off. It's a little bit tricky, but let's just see, because this is a super thin cotton as well. It's just some cheap stuff that I bought once, thinking I was going to do something with fabric and never got round to it, of course, because I'm too busy doing everything else. Yeah, that's a little bit too thin for this machine, but you'll get an idea. So buy a good quality cotton, but we can get it off if we just do it slowly. Yeah, that's starting to break up that. Okay, so let's see if we can even get it off the mat. And I don't mind doing things like this because if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But that's how you learn. If you never try, you'll never know, will you? That's the thing. So at least we've tried and at least we know. So I'm just going to do another piece of fabric because I want to see what it's like just on a shape and see if that's easier to get off, because that's not great, to be honest with you. So let's try this piece of fabric over here and let's just do a basic shape, because actually it may be that if you are doing something like a snowflake, you might put a stabilizer on the back. So we'll see. Let's see what it does with a hexagon. See what we get with that, see if that's easier. It might just be this fabric, to be fair, because it is like, you know, you can literally see my hand through it. But we'll see. We can try. And this is what we do, you know. We just try, because that, I mean, that's like just wrecked because it's just pulling apart. But let's see what it does with a regular shape. So let's do this. Let's find our hexagon. Let's set that on the mat. Let's scan this in again. And I'd rather I did this in a class and waste my fabric than you do it in your home and waste your fabric. Right, let's start. So that's going on there. Oh, let's pop that in the bin because that was rubbish. At least we've learned, right? And then we're going to do fabric with a stabilizer on the back. And you'll see the difference then. Right, so let's move that over there, like that. And I know I'm wasting fabric, but you know what? It's my fabric. Press start. Let's see what we get now. You could do fabric. Oh, no, I'm not even going to say that because I don't, well, you could try it with your regular blade. And we'll use the regular blade when we're doing the leather. But to be honest, I think it's too strong. It's quite a strong, it's quite a powerful blade, that one. So I would kind of just say, get a fabric blade if you're going to cut anything like cotton. Right, let's see now if we can get this off. See, that's coming off much better. I think it was too intricate to get off the mat. So it cut it, but it's getting it off the mat. And you've still got some fraying here, which you're going to get, but that would be within your seam allowance if you added a seam allowance to this fabric. So you can see it will cut without being stabilised. So let's go on to our stabilised fabric now. So for this, I'm going to use a standard mat, but not have the high contact adhesive sheet on. Because if I put that on a high contact adhesive sheet, it's going to just grab that backing and you won't get it off. Sorry, and just cover your ears for a minute because this is going to be a bit painful for you. That's it, done. If I ever leave the craft industry for any reason, I could go into waxing because I could whip that off really quick. Right, so a piece of fabric, a piece of cotton, similar to the quality of this one, I have to say. And there's a product on the back of here called Heaton Bond. Now, I'm sure if you're a sewer, you will have heard of Heaton Bond. They do two versions. They do a Heaton Bond Ultra, which is what I've got on here, and a Heaton Bond Light. The Heaton Bond Ultra is if you just want to iron an applique directly onto something and not sew it. And the Heaton Bond Light you can sew through because your sewing needles will go through it. I have used Heaton Bond for, wow, 1996. I don't know how long ago that is, but it's a long time ago, 27 years. And we used it. So before I discovered paper, I used to work in my attic and we used to hand paint garments. So we would design a shape, we would create a template, draw around the template onto fabric that we dyed in the microwave. So it's fabulous. If you ever want to try it, get some satin, wet it, get some silk paint and dab it on. Just literally drop it on, scrunch it up, and then cook it in the microwave for about 2 minutes. And then when you take it out, you've got like a tie-dye effect on your satin. And then we used to iron it, iron the Heaton Bond on the back, draw on the paper backing and cut all the appliques out by hand. I wish I'd had one of these machines then, because that would have saved me literally months of my life. But Heaton Bond is different to Bondaweb. Bondaweb is a fusible webbing, and sometimes it can break down in the wash. Heaton Bond is a sheet of glue that when you iron, it bonds completely. It is brilliant. And if you've never tried it, give it a go, because it's a fabulous product. The tip I would say, no matter what stabiliser you're using, is take the paper backing off before you stick it on your mat, because otherwise, this is on the back of here, but when you stick that onto there, the paper backing will stick to your mat, but the force of the blade will make the fabric come away from the paper backing. So that won't work. So you want to take this and you want to pop it on your mat like that with your adhesive on the back. So very gently, because this is a brand new mat, remember. So let's try the snowflake out of this. So let's press home and OK. And let's go into our shapes again and into our snowflake. And this time, because it's an applique, I'm going to just keep it at the size. So let's scan that in again. Unload this and go into here. I'm going to stick with the fabric blade. And let's scan this in. I never ever had a single garment come back because of the fabric coming off the tops, which was brilliant. It is a really, really good product. In fact, I'm going to speak to Stephanie and see if we can start to stock it, because it is fabulous. Right, so I'm going to move this over here and I'm going to press OK, and let's please select and cut, and let's see what we get this time. Start. And while that's doing that, I'm just going to put my green sheet back on here to protect this mat. And it will cut through that high contact adhesive sheet, but don't think, oh, I can't use it anymore. If the adhesive sheet comes off on the back of your fabric, peel it off and put it back in place, because you can still use it. I know Sarah Payne used to use it quite a lot, so I'm sure she could give you some hints and tips as well. Right, so this is the point where when I'm on air, the presenter looks at me as if to say, oh, I think that's gone a bit wrong, Mel, because I'm just going to see if, I'm just going to make sure it has cut before I get a little bit cocky with it. Right, yeah, it has. Right, so this is when, and I'm going to get Andrew to come in really close on this if you can. I know you can try. God loves a trier, Andrew, and you're very trying. So here, where I've lifted it off, you can see where it's cut, but on this side, it looks like it hasn't cut. That's how good that fabric blade is. Because actually, when I lift this now, and again, I'm going to just excuse the noise, because I know it's quite, it's like a bit like nails down a chalkboard, isn't it? Look at this. it cuts as well as a steel rule die, I think, personally, because you don't see where it is. Look at that. And that's just fabulous. Now getting it off is the fun bit. So get your little scraper again. Let's see how we get on with this. You also need to make sure that when you're ironing heat and bond on the back that you use a dry iron, and it's a hot iron, as hot as the fabric will take, because it needs to really bond to that fabric. And this is a brand new standard mat, so I'm not helping myself really today by doing this. I could do with my tweezers. Would you use the same settings with heat and bond on with the rotary blade? Yes, I would try it, to be honest. I mean, the rotary blade cut fabric really well. The first one I got couldn't even get to work. So I think I might have had a faulty blade. And I know Brother had a lot of success with it. So it was obviously something that I was doing. So when I tried the one on air the other week, I was like, oh, okay, that works. So it was probably, see, what happens is I kind of get a prototype. I know, you'd think, wouldn't you? They'd sent me a proper one, but I think I get prototypes to test them. So it is what it is. But yes, I would, I think I would. Just ask me the question again, Andrea, then I can think it through. Yes, I think I would. Absolutely use the same mat settings, etc. But try it. You know, try it and see, because these machines are put together. Some of the parts are put together by hand. So it depends on the age of your rotary blade. It depends on the age of your mat, because if your mat isn't quite as sticky, you might need to just adjust it slightly. It's there are variables. It's not like a die, but you think about a die cutting machine. You know, every time you put that magnetic sheet through, it's getting compressed a little bit more. So if your magnetic sheet is stretched slightly, that makes the sandwich a little bit thinner. And please don't take this the wrong way, but it's common sense. It really is common sense. So just try it. And if you're ever stuck with anything like fabric or anything like that, send me a piece to Highlight Crafts. You'll find our address online. Just send me a piece and I'll try it. You know, if you think, oh, will it cut this? Send it me. You know, just send it me and I'll try it. And look how fabulous is that. Look at that. And my mat's really clean. Look. So, brilliant for applique. Absolutely brilliant for applique. If you ironed, now let me think this through before I say it. If you had a printable fabric, like a polycotton, a quilter's cotton, and you could print it through your printer, and we are getting some printable fabric in. You could print on all your reflections and then cut it out with a cutting file. So you could iron, heat and bond on the back, and then you could have 2 red robins as applique. Just one of those, just saying. Just try it. You're not going to break your machine, let's put it that way. That's the biggest fear, isn't it? Breaking the machine. You're not going to break your machine unless you drop it from a great height. So we're not going to worry about that bit. Right, construction board next, because this is important. I know I've done a whole video on it, but I actually just want to reiterate what we've done. Construction board, this is 1000 micron. So this is the thickest we do. This is the thickest I would recommend you use. I wouldn't go any thicker than this, because you're then going to put too much stress on that blade and too much stress on the rollers that are guiding it in. So this is the mat that we retacked at the beginning. It is now super tacky. I'm just seeing if I can. No, I can't show you. I can't make you see the difference between tacky and sticky, but you'll know when you've retacked a mat. So I'm going to just position this on here. This is 1000 microns, so it's 1 mil thick. So we're going for a thick board here. We are going to take our fabric blade out because we no longer need that. And we are going to pop our regular blade or auto blade into the machine. I'm then going to load this in. And we might as well do the same snowflake because we can. And this is going to take a little bit longer. Now I can see that this is already coming off here. It's okay because it's at the bottom. If it's lifting at the top here, make sure that it's pressed down, because what happens when the optical eye, the eye goes and has a look at how deep it is, if this is lifted at the top, it measures from the top of the board to the top of the mat. So if it's lifted by 0.5 mil, it'll see it as 1.5 mil, not 1 mil. So just make sure that whenever you, and that's the same for anything, that it's properly stuck down at the top and actually properly stuck down all over the mat. This bottom edge doesn't really matter, but the top edge absolutely does. Would you retack a new mat to cut grey board? I do. I just put a thin layer of the stencil glue on because I want it to grip it. I want to make sure that it doesn't move, because if you use a brand new mat and you put your grey board on, you probably get away with it for about 3 or 4 cuts. But after that, it will start to move. It's a different adhesive. It's a strange adhesive, it's a stencil glue, in that you put it on your, if I put some on my finger here like this, and I have to say, please excuse my nails because I haven't had time to go and get them done. And I've got a horrible thumbnail because it's split all the way down, but I can't change that. Right, so look at that. It's not sticky at all. Watch what happens when it starts to be exposed to the air. Look, you see it's starting to become tacky. You see? Look. So it's different. It's a different feeling. It's the difference for me between like a wet glue and a red liner tape. It's different. There's a difference to it. Low tack or regular mat for grey board? Standard, yeah, standard mat every time. Low tack isn't strong enough. Even if you, well, it could be if you retacked it, but you'd have to put a lot of glue on. So standard mat for thicker materials, low tack mat for thinner materials. I love all these questions. This is why we do these classes. Right, this time we're going to please select and cut, and we're going to change our cut amount. So we're going to go into our spanner and we're going to drop this down to 0.3 millimeters. So it should cut this 4 times. And I know that might think, oh gosh, I've got all this stuff to cut and it's going to cut it 4 times, but it will give you a perfect cut. So you make your choice. I know which I would rather have. I'd rather it took a little bit more time, because the alternative is going and buying a steel rule die that you have in one size. And you have to have a machine that cuts steel rule dies, and the machine's doing the work. So you know what? It's no hardship really, is it? Right, if you do have any questions and you're watching on YouTube, you can put a question in the comments, and we do read them on a regular basis, and we try and get back to you wherever we can. Or you can just email me at mel@highlightcrafts.com. So just email me. I might not get back to you within the first 5 minutes, but I do read them, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Because I want everybody to have get the enjoyment out of ScanNCut that I get, because it is amazing. And we've got some fabulous USBs coming up for you. Cutting Craftorium is just going to skyrocket. I've nailed Christmas yesterday, so we've decided what we're doing for the Christmas one. It's going to be fabulous. All that kind of thing. It's just going to get better and better, so it's very exciting. And don't forget, if you want that calligraphy pen starter kit, we've got it on our website now, so you can order it, and it should be with you by the end of the week, if not by the beginning of next week. As soon as they come in from Brother, we'll get it out to you, because we had so many people asking for it when we launched the SDX 2240 that I just thought it was fair that we get them in, so that's good. Maria says, Mel, do you not sleep? Do you know what? I've had a bit of a revelation this week, Maria. So I'm one of these people that has yo-yo dieted all their life, and I'll be really good and I'll get my head in the right place and I won't eat chocolate. And when I'm on it, I'm really good. But then when I'm off it, I'm a nightmare. You know those more to share bags of chocolate? That doesn't make sense in my head. Why would you share chocolate? That's ridiculous. So I decided that I was going to be good again, start eating healthily, and the better I eat and the less rubbish I eat, the more energy I've got. So we've just done Doncaster for 2 days. Went to sleep last night, had 6 hours sleep, woke up wide awake this morning. So yeah, I do sleep, and I actually sleep really well because I'm one of these people that is very in control of their thoughts. One day I'll tell you all the story of how I came to do that. So when I go to, let me just pause this a minute because it keeps still going, and I know that it's cut through. I'm one of those people, so before I go to bed, if I've got a lot going on, I write it down so it gets it out of my head and onto paper. So then I'm not thinking about it all night. So yeah, I do sleep. It's just, it's just that I'm busy, but I love it. I love it. I'm one of those people that if I've got a list, as long as my arm has stuff to do, I'm happy. If I come into work and I don't know what I'm doing, it makes me a bit like twitchy. So yeah, but yes, Maria, I know. Look at that. Absolutely perfect. Now I wanted to keep cutting that, but you can hear it. So when it cuts, if you listen, you'll hear it. It's like a shh noise as it's cutting. And once it's cut through, you don't hear it. That is absolutely perfect. If you turn it over, you also get rid of that little ridge that it's created, because what happens is the blade and the pressure compresses the card slightly and you end up with a little bit of a ridge. But if you turn it over, it's perfectly flat. So whichever side you want to use. But that is brilliant, I think. I think that's fabulous. Grey board, no problem. Just make sure you do it slowly and be patient. Do that, don't change your speed by doing it slowly. I mean, give it time to do multiple cuts. So 0.3 millimeters is what I would recommend. Keep your speed on full, never change it. That's what I've always told you, isn't it? Right, let's have a look at this leather. So we had some lovely ladies come the other week, and they brought us some vegan leather, which was really interesting. So I've got some that's very soft. I'd love a pair of boots made out of that. That's super, super, super soft. I've got some that's, well, I've got this piece that's thinner and softer. I've then got a piece that's really soft but thicker. I've got a piece that's more like, I would say a PVC. This is properly thick stuff, look. I wish you could feel it. It smells lush. But it's this I would say would be like a handbag leather. Oh, it smells delicious. I do love the smell of leather. And then this is super, super, super thick. So let's try a thin one and a thick one so that you can see both of them. So let's pop this mustard one on here. Let's pop this on here. Now I'm putting it down so the leather side, the smooth side, is flat on the mat. Because if I put that side on, all those fibres are going to come off on my mat. So think about it logically. I'm going to position this here like that. I'm just going to flatten it out a bit. Like that. Just get rid of any bubbles. I've got a little bit of adhesive under there that's just a bit bumpy. So I'm going to scan this in. Now to scan this in, because it's thicker, I'm going to lift this lever on the side of my machine. So I'm going to lift it up to 2. And I'm now going to scan this in. So let's open this up and let's scan this in. And I'm actually going to use my regular blade for this and see what happens. Because it's thicker, I don't think the fabric blade will get through it in one go. I mean, I don't know, it might need it. The one I cut was thinner than this, so let's see what happens. So if I go back and scan this in, I actually didn't think this class would take an hour today, but actually it does. So we'll concentrate on fabric and grey board in this one. And then next time we will do Mylar, acetate, mirrorcard, shrink plastic, because we've sourced printable shrink plastic. Think about what that means for your reflections, because I am super excited about that. I'm going to position that up there. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Oh, it's all exciting stuff going on at Highlight Crafts. And then, of course, our training academy. Now, I'm going to really test this because I'm putting it in a piece of the fabric that's smaller. If I cut it here, I've got all this stabilisation round here. If I put it here, it's not as well stabilized because it's a smaller piece. So let's really test it and see what happens. So I'm going to press OK. Now, because this doesn't have a warp and a weft, I don't have to get through it in one go. So what I'm going to do is do the same depth, or should I do, let's try 0.5, because it's not dense as in rigid, if you like, I think is the best word to describe it. So I'm going to try this at 0.5 mil and let's see what we get with this. I love stuff like this. This is like my favourite part of my job because I get to try stuff. There's this bit, and I also like a challenge. So when somebody says, how do I do this? I'm like, ooh, brilliant. Because that's how my brain works. Because I know how the machine sees things and thinks almost. I'm like, right, okay, so let's see if we can make it happen. It's just exciting. Right, so it's cutting. So that's a good sign. I'm just going to pause it because it sees that it's thick, but it doesn't know the density of it. And I actually think that it might have cut that in one pass. So I can always pause it and quit cutting. Let's have a look, see what we've got. Ah. Oh, let's see, hang on, might have preempted that a bit too soon. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, it could have done with one more cut. Right, let's go back in because I'm not going to shy away from it. I want it to be right for you. Or what we could do is go up to 1 mil. Let's see if that works. So let's do it again. Let's pop that on there like that. So Andrew's just asked a really good question. If you've got a thin layer of leather on one part of your mat and a thick layer on the other, will it change from one to the other? The answer is no, it won't. It doesn't go individual. It won't look at one piece and then look at another piece. It will look at the one that's at the top. So no, just always do the thick on thick, all the thick together and all the thin together. So that was a really good question, Andrew, which is unusual for you, so congratulations. Right, cut amount, I'm going to take up to 1 millimetre. Let's see if this is better, or whether we need to do two 5 mil cuts, 0.5 mil cuts, let's see. But how exciting, because if you had a pattern, and you would need permission, because it's a copyright thing, but if you had a pattern for a purse or something like that, and you could scan the pattern in and save it into the machine's memory and then cut it out of leather, that's going to save you a lot of time. But please, I am saying this so that I am not held responsible. Please check just to make sure that it's okay for you to do that. Most of the times if you download a template, it will tell you whether it's copyright free or not. I didn't scan my leather in, so it's missed a little bit of the snowflake, but that's just standard for me today because my brain is got lots of exciting things going on in it. But you will see, look at this is brilliant. One pass. Oh, I love my job. Look at this. How amazing is this leather? Now, the real test for it will be the super, super strong leather. So let's see what happens with that. Look at that. That's blinking brilliant. Look at that. Just fabulous. Right, leather, tick. Right, I'm going to go for, let's try the brown leather first, which is a little bit softer. They're probably about the same, so it doesn't really matter which I do. This is like proper. I mean, look, these are my Tim Holtz tonic scissors, and I'm having to really close the. Blimey, that is tough to cut. If it cuts this, it will be really good. Blimey. I would say horse riding saddle level, but it's not quite that, but it's not far off, let me tell you, having cleaned a lot of tack in my life. Right, let's get this on here. Wow, this is thick. Now this is definitely where you need to lift your lever because this would catch on your scanner at the back. So I'm going to scan this in. And let's see if it does this. So the whole thing really, apart from construction board, has been about fabric. But that's good. Now felt. So while it's doing this, I'm just going to scan this in and I'll talk to you about felt. Felt is an interesting one. You can cut it on the ScanNCut. You kind of need to get through it as quickly as possible because it's fluff, and the more times it goes round, the fluffier it becomes. You have to stabilise it because it's fluff. And if you don't stabilise it, so you can iron, heat and bond on the back. If you don't stabilise it, it will just stick to your mat and you'll never get it off. So there's no point, because it is literally fluff. Okay, so changing the amount of times it cuts, you will have, so Elaine has asked, how do you change the amount of times it cuts? So if you've got something that's 1 mil thick, Elaine, and you put it on 0.3 mil, it will cut it 4 times, because 0.3 plus 0.3 plus 0.3 still isn't 1 mil, so it will cut a 4th time. If you put it on 0.5 mil, it'll cut it twice. If you put it on 1 mil, it'll cut it once, but it might be cutting it more times because it's not stuck down properly at the top. So I don't know what you're trying to cut, Elaine, but whatever it is, you will judge it on your cut amount. So if you've got a piece of card and it's cutting it 3 times, it might be because you've got it on 0.1 millimetre. So if that doesn't answer your question, email me directly and I will help you out. Right, so let's try this now. I need to think about this. Right, I'm going to try one thing, and if this doesn't work, it's my fault, and we'll try again. Because I haven't actually ever used 3 mil. I haven't ever tried 3 mil. So I'm going to try it and see whether it tries to get through in one go, or whether it cuts 3 times. This might be me just telling it that it's 3 mil thick, but I won't know until I try it. So let's see what it does. Can only try. And if it pulls my mat, it's my mat and you haven't wasted yours, so that's all right. Right, let's see what it's going to do. This will be interesting. Okay, it's changed the estimated time of cutting. Oh, that is thick. Okay, let me see what it's doing. That sounds quite scary. Although it might just be the leather. You can hear it, can't you, listen? I'm interested in what it's going to do now. Right, it's going to go back. So it's looked at it, and it knows that it's going through with some force, and it's going through with some depth. Right, listen. You can still hear it. I'm going to get my mic as close as I can. Okay, it doesn't sound as harsh as it did first time round. Let's see what it does now. Now let's listen to this one. Can you hear? There's no noise. That tells me it's cut through. I'm going to let it go round. Hear how it's changed. That's what you'll get with your grey board too. Right, I know that that's cut perfectly now, because I can't hear it anymore. Right, let's pause. Oh, pause. Quick cutting. Okay, undo. So once you can't hear it cut anymore, that noise, then you know. Look at this. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, look at that. That's amazing. Right, let me get this off here. Oh, every time I do something like this, I fall in love with this machine a little bit more. I wouldn't tell my husband, but I would marry this machine because it never lets me down and it always surprises me with good things. Look at that. I didn't say unlike men, Andrew. You added that in. So that says more about your relationship than it does about mine. Just saying. Right, So I've got a little bit of the adhesive sheet stuck on it, but that will just peel off. Look at that. Right, I want you to look at that angle, Andrew, there. Right, I'm going to hold it there. Look, that is properly thick leather. I would say that is at least, I haven't got a ruler, I would say 2 mil, 2.5 mil, easily. That is properly dense. Look at that. If that's not a reason as a fabric crafter to buy a ScanNCut, I don't know what is. That is brilliant. Right, 5 minutes left. So I think the black is probably similar to that. So what else can we do? Let's see what else we can do. Now then, I'm going to try this. Now this is an interesting product. This is my adhesive mat ruined now? No, absolutely not. So you will get bits. So if I just, look, if I do this, this snowflake has cut through the mat. It's meant to, okay? There's no way around it. It's the way it is. And Brother have always been very open about that. You will have to change this mat. So, but don't change it just because you've got bits on it or bits have come off it. Just press it down like this. Just get it like back to flat again. And then just keep using it until it's shredded. And you're just like, yeah, it's a bit like cut tidy. You know when you start with cut tidy and it's nice and clear and by the end of it, it's in bits. It's a bit like that. So don't think you have to change it every time. But say that again, Andrew. Take the back up. What do you mean? Oh no, it's not cutting through this mat. Andrew's asking me if I can tape the back of it. No, it's not this. We're talking about this. Do you know what? It gives me all this stuff in my ear and it gets distracted. No, this sticky bit, Andrew. Not the, oh, do you know what? Right, let's try this. This is a fabric that is printable and it's on order. So you can put this through your printer. And this is just a regular inkjet printer. And you can print on it. So you can print your reflections on fabric now and make keyring chains. You could do bag charms, all that kind of stuff. It's all exciting stuff. The speed is up on 9. Is this the speed recommended for fabric cutting? The speed is always on 9. So when I first started working with electric cutting machines, which will be 18 years ago this year, I had a meeting with the man who invented Cricut. And not cricket as in cricket, cricket as in cricket machine. And he said to me, the quicker the speed, the better the cut. And I went, how does that work then? I said, because surely if it's slower and more precise, it's going to be better. He said, well, think about a big industrial saw, like a log cutting saw. If you put that log up against that saw slowly, it does that and it judders. If you do it quickly, it cuts it cleanly. So his thing was the quicker the speed, the better the cut. And in 18 years, it has never failed me. So as soon as you get your machine home, put your speed on 9. I don't care what anybody else tells you. And I'm going to say this and I might get told off, including Brother, because I use my machine a lot. It has never, ever failed me. It doesn't matter what I'm cutting. Now, I haven't cut a lot of fabric, so it might change slightly for that. I don't know. But for all the fabrics that I've ever cut, cotton, leather, denim, oilcloth, all that kind of stuff, I've never changed my speed. If it's pilling, if it's tearing or it's not cutting properly, it's usually your blade depth or your pressure, but the speed has never changed for me. So yeah, absolutely. Just put it on full and leave it on full. It's down to the pressure and the blade depth, not the speed, in my opinion. And like I say, I've been doing it for 18 years. So if it's never failed me in 18 years, it's unlikely to now. Now this has a plastic on the top, and then it has the canvas, and then it has the backing on. So I'm going to try it at 1 mil, a 1 mil cut depth, and see what we get. I haven't tried this at all, remember, like I hadn't tried the leather. So we're learning together on this one. But I think it's worth giving it a go. It might not work because it's quite an open weave. It's almost like a canvas. In fact, it is a canvas. That's exactly what it is. It's like a canvas sheet. So it might work, it might not, but until we try, I don't know. But what I'm hoping is the plastic sheet that you take off before you print will protect it a little bit. It'll stabilize it a bit. And if that's the case, you could take it off, print it, put it back on, and then cut it. So I'm hoping one work. Right, while that's cutting, I'm just going to run through the 2 codes with you. So you've got Mel 10, which is still running for another week from our last class, which gives you 10% off everything Brother on the website, which I hadn't even thought about when I suggested that we did a really good price on the calligraphy pen holder or calligraphy pen starter kit. So I might be in a bit of bother with that, but you know what, I'll take it. And then we've got CB20, so C for it's construction board basically, CB20, which gives you 20% off your construction board up to the 3rd of April. Right, I'm just going to have a look and see what's happened here before I take this off. Well, I'm going to unload it because I can't even get to it at the moment. And let's see what we've got. I do love doing stuff like this. It's very exciting. If this works, I might do my happy dance. Oh, Stephanie's going to have kittens when I go in and show her this. Right, let's have a look at this. Oh dear, let's have a look. Come on, you know you want to. Yes. Right, so I've got a little bit of the adhesive sheet on the back, so that peels off. Now that's pretty, listen. It's quite, let me peel this off and see what happens with this. Let's have a look, see what this is. That might not happen. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, look. Yeah. Keep that plastic on, stabilise it. Look at this. Right, let's see if we can get it off the mat now. That's the next bit, isn't it? It's all right cutting it. Can't get it off the mat. There's no point, is there? Right. Oh. We do this all the time, Stephanie and I will sit there and we'll be doing different things and all of a sudden one of us will go and it's like happy time. Right, let's get this underneath here. So again, just be aware that it will cut into that mat. I've got to get that off. There we are. So that snowflake has cut right through that, but it just, look, it's just gone back in and I can cut over that again. Look at that. So we've now got our canvas. So I think it's fair to say that ScanNCut is pretty good with fabric. Don't buy cheap fabric like I had. Well, you won't. If you're a fabric crafter, you won't buy cheap fabric, will you? That's a bit insulting for me to say that, so I apologise. But look, so that's canvas now, that you can print it first and then cut it out. I think that's fabulous. Right, next time we'll do shrink plastic, mylar, vinyl, and anything else that comes up. So please don't think, oh, I don't want to bother her. Just email me, tell me what you want to see. I've got a list going on and we'll try and do different things in different classes, and then we'll try and do some project stuff as well going forward. So calligraphy pen holder, don't forget, starter kit is now available. Code, you've got 2 codes, and our workshop itinerary will be up on the website by this time next Friday, not Friday coming, Friday after. Thank you once again for joining me. It's been lovely, and I will see you next month. Take care. Bye. If you want to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button. Subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below and click the bell icon to receive notifications of all our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.